All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a big day. We have made it. We are on part 7 of Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Let's finish this up. So, when we left off, the mariner had been brought home by, we don't know if it was Mary or the South Pole Spirit or somebody, but I think it was more Mary of anybody else because she was the one who gave him the rain. She gave him sleep. She gave him that storm cloud and the wind that took him back to his own country. So he gets home and he's staring and he's looking at the landscape and he's very happy. I'm home, oh my gosh. And he's waiting for the pilot and the pilot's boy, and possibly if he's lucky, the hermit will jump in that boat and come to them, and maybe he can give his confession. He's thinking about that when all of a sudden from behind him he sees that big red glowing crimson light emanating up, and it forces him to turn around, right? So he turns around and he sees, OMG, he says, he sees on top of all of the dead bodies, the bodies have now laid flat again. There's an angel on top of each of the bodies. So there's 200 angels and they're waving at him. And then they get around the mast and they sing, and all the sounds of nature come around them and whatnot. So this is all going on right now. Now, interestingly, again, the pilot and the pilot's boy and the hermit, they're rowing their way up to the boat as this is going on. So, of course, they're seeing this crazy red light up on top. And that's where we pick it up. Part 7. Let's go. The Hermit of the Wood. Now, I've already told you about the hermit, just the fact that he lives alone, that he's very religious. So let's hear about that now. This hermit, good, lives in that wood, which slopes down to the sea. How loudly his sweet voice he rears. How he loves to talk with mariners that come from a far country. He kneels at morn and noon and eve. He hath a cushion plump. It is the moss that wholly hides the rotted old oak stump. So it's just telling us that he's incredibly religious. He spends all his time praying. The skiff boat neared. I heard them talk. Why, this is strange, I trow. Where are those lights, so many and fair? That signal made but now. So the mariner hears them talking as they roll up as they row up. And he hears them say, what happened to those crazy lights? What were those crazy lights? They approached the ship with wonder. Strange by my faith, the hermit said, and they answered not our cheer. In other words, they're yelling as they're rolling up, hey, everybody up there. I mean, think about this. When a ship comes in after a long voyage, where are all the sailors? They're not hiding below decks or anything like that. They're probably all lined up on the deck, waving and pointing, look, that's my house over there. And hey, I think that's my wife over there. So they would all be up there and they'd be yelling. But the hermit says, this is strange. We're yelling, but nobody's answering us. Where is everybody? The planks looked warped. And see those sails, how thin they are and sere? I never saw aught like to them unless perchance it were. And this is interesting. And then he also points out, look at the ship. Look how messed up it is. It's almost like a death ship, like it's been through hell and back, which it's kind of true. It actually has been kind of through hell and back. I've never seen these movies, but I bet you most of you have. It's the ones with Johnny Depp, the pirate movies, Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm not interested in that, specifically Johnny Depp, but that's another story altogether. But I have been told by several students over the years that at one point his ship looks like that. They actually go on a journey to the underworld or something like that, and the ship gets this look of death and decay. So if you have that image in your mind, that's what this ship looks like right here. It looks like it shouldn't be sailing, much less have sailed in. It looks like it's like a death ship. It's dying, like it should sink. And then he likens it, the hermit. Remember, the hermit lives outside in the woods all the time. So he likens it to a winter landscape. Think of what trees look like in the winter. All their trees fall, all their leaves fall off, and it almost looks as if they're dead. That's what he's saying about the ship. This ship looks like it's kind of dead. Listen. "'Tis strange by my faith," the hermit said, and they answered not our cheer. The planks looked warped, and see those sails, how thin they are and sere. I never saw aught like to them, unless perchance it were brown skeletons of leaves that lag my forest brook along, when the ivy tod is heavy with snow, and the owlet whoops to the wolves below, that eats the she-wolf's young. Dear Lord, it hath a fiendish look, the pilot made reply. I am afraid. Push on, said the hermit cheerily. So the pilot, the man whose job it is to pilot back and forth, he says, I don't like it. I think we should leave. I'm afraid of that ship. And the hermit says, no, keep going. We're all good. So the boat came close to the ship, but I nor spake nor stirred. The boat came close beneath the ship, and straight a sound was heard. So the minute that the little boat pulls up to the big boat, all of a sudden he hears this crazy sound from underneath the water. Listen. The ship suddenly sinketh. Under the water it rumbled on, still louder and more dread. It reached the ship, it split the bay. The ship went down like lead. So he said, just out of nowhere, the minute that boat pulls up to their boat, boop, their ship sinks down to the bottom of the ocean, or the bottom of the bay, just disappears. It seems to me like the spirits don't want the men to see the ship, to see what had happened on that ship. But don't forget, there's also 200 dead men on that ship. Listen. Under the water it rumbled on, still louder and more dread. It reached the ship, it split the bay, the ship went down like lead. Stunned by that loud and dreadful sound, which sky and ocean smote, like one that hath been 7 days drowned, my body lay afloat. But swift as dreams myself, I found myself within the pilot's boat. So the ship goes down with all the dead men in it, and they don't rise up. But the mariner, his body rises up to the top, but it's floating upside down, like one that hath been 7 days drowned. So it's just floating. Now, he doesn't die because he can't die, right? He's undead. But they think he's dead. And he said, straight, I found myself within their boat. So they pull him and they bring him into their boat, drop him down. They just think it's a body that they pulled into their boat. They're going to freak out when the mariner starts what? Yeah, talking. Listen. Upon the whirl sank that ship. The boat spun round and round, and all was still, save that the hill was telling of that sound. I moved my lips. The pilot shrieked and fell down in a fit. The holy hermit raised his eyes and prayed where he did sit. So I started to talk, and the pilot freaks out, and the hermit starts praying right there to God. I took the oars, the pilot's boy who now doth crazy go. So the pilot, the pilot's assistant, the boy who should be rowing, it says who now doth crazy go. He's like, blah, 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 oh my God, crazy. There's a dead guy here, so he can't row. So the mariner, the dead guy, stands up and starts rowing them back to shore because the hermit's praying, the pilot's freaking out, and the pilot's boy is freaking out. Listen. I took the oars, the pilot's boy who now doth crazy go, laughed loud and long, and all the while his eyes went to and fro. Ha ha, quoth he. Full plain I see, the devil knows how to row. So they believe they pulled the devil into their ship. And now, all in my own country, I stood on firm land. The hermit stepped forth from the boat, and scarcely he could stand. So the ancient mariner earnestly entreated the hermit to shrieve him, and the penance of life falls on him. So the first thing he does when he gets on land and the hermit comes on, and he falls to the ground because he's kind of freaking out because this dead guy over here is moving and talking. He asks him right away, shrieve me, hear my confession. So what he's going to do, and what he hopes is going to happen, is he's going to tell the story of killing the bird, of talking smack about the nature, the water snakes and whatnot. And the hermit's going to say, okay, you're good. Do 5 Hail Marys, 20 Our Fathers, do some volunteer work, go help out some kids in town, and you're good. But that's just not how it's going to work. Listen to how this works. Oh, shrieve me, holy man. The hermit crossed his brow. Say quick, quoth he, I bid thee say, what manner of man art thou? Forthwith this frame of mine was wrenched with a woeful agony, which forced me to begin my tale, and then it left me free. So right then, he gets this awful pain in his chest that forces him to tell the story that we all heard already from the beginning to the end. We started off at the line, a storm took us down to the South Pole where, the bird came, and then I killed the bird, and then we got free, and then the spirits. So he tells the whole story. The dead man tells the whole story. And then he says, the minute he finished telling the story to the hermit, the pain left his body. Listen. And ever and on throughout his future life, and agony constrained him to travel from land to land. And here we're about to find out. See, the mariner thought that would be the end of it for him, but it's not. It turns out his penance is going to last for eternity. Listen. Since then, at an uncertain hour, that agony returns until my ghastly tale is told. Excuse me, everybody. My apologies. My daughter and my dog were having too much fun and they were distracting me. Let's continue. And since then, I lost my spot. Here we go. All right, here we go. Since then, at an uncertain hour, that agony returns. Until my ghastly tale is told, this heart within me burns. So he says, every once in a while, since then, I get that pain in my chest. And it doesn't disappear until I tell the story again. Listen, I pass like night from land to land. I have strange powers of speech. The moment that his face I see, I know the man that must hear me. To him my tale I teach. This is crazy. He says, I pass from land to land, strange powers of speech. I think that means he can speak every single language in the world. And I believe that's like, I don't know, I think we looked it up one year. It's like 5,000 languages. So wherever he ends up, he can speak their language. And what he does is, the moment that his face I see, I know the man that must hear me. To him my tale I teach. So as he walks through the lands, there are certain people that when he sees them, he's pulled to those people and he's forced to tell him this tale. And he has that pain. And then once he's done with the tale, the pain goes away. He can go on until he finds another person. So the idea that I'm getting is that the people that he has to tell are people who are or have been bad to nature. So of our 3 wedding guests in the beginning of this poem, remember 2 of them were able to just walk away, like, get out of here, you crazy old dude. I'm not listening to you. They're not bad to nature. They're okay. But clearly, the bridegroom, the 3rd man, the one who's forced to listen to it, the next of kin, he has clearly been and is bad, or has been bad to nature, and he needs to heal this story. And hopefully after hearing the story, he'll realize, whoa, I better not be bad to nature anymore, because I don't want to lose my communication with God, and I don't want to be punished by angels and spirits and demons and whoever the heck else there is out there, and invisible inhabitants of the earth. So listen, I'm going to read it again. I passed like night from land to land. I have strange powers of speech. That moment that his face I see, I know the man that must hear me. To him my tale I teach. What loud uproar bursts from that door? The wedding guests are there. But in the garden bower, the bride and the bridesmaids singing are, and hark the little vesper bell which biddeth me to prayer. O wedding guest, this soul hath been alone on a wide, wide sea. So lonely 'twas that God himself scarce seemed there to be. Oh, sweeter than the marriage feast, 'twas sweeter far to me to walk together to the kirk with a godly company. So what he's telling this man is, weddings are great, families are great, life is great, but the most important thing that you have in your life is your relationship with God, your ability to communicate with God. And if you lose that relationship or that ability to communicate with God, you've got nothing in your life. This is what the ancient mariner has learned. And this is, by the way, what I believe our author, Samuel Coleridge and Wordsworth, were trying to teach you. They're telling you, remember, this is not Mr. Kenny, just be a good person, but I'm not telling you this. But they're trying to tell you that the best way to live your life is to be good to nature so that you can be close to God. And that if you're not good to nature, then you can't be close to God. Listen. To walk together to kirk, all together pray, while each to his great father brends, old men and babes and loving friends and youths and maidens gay. Farewell, farewell, but this I tell thee, to thou wedding guest, he prayeth well who loveth well both man and bird and beast. So what he's saying is, if you want to be close to God, you've got to be good to God's creatures. You've got to be close to nature. He prayeth best who loveth best all things, both great and small. And he's saying it doesn't matter if it's a big creature or a little creature. They're all created by God, whether or not they're ugly in your eyes or not. They're not ugly in God's eyes, and certainly not in their parents' eyes. But the dear God who loveth us, he made and loveth all. The mariner, whose eye is bright, whose beard with age is hoar, is gone. And now the wedding guest turned from the bridegroom's door. So the mariner's done telling a story, so he just up and leaves. Where is he going? To find another person to tell. And this goes on, by the way, for eternity. We're supposed to believe, if you believe this story, it was written in 1832, it was published, or 1798, I apologize, it was published 1798. Since 1798, so that's 222 years ago now, this mariner is still walking the earth, telling his story to people. He went like one that hath been stunned, and is of sense forlorn. A sadder and a wiser man, he rose the morrow morn. So I ask you, did it work? Did the wedding guest learn his lesson? I'll say it again. He went like one that hath been stunned, and is of sense forlorn. A sadder and a wiser man, he rose the morrow morn. So it did work. That wedding guest is now going to be a better person to nature, and he's going to have a better communication with God, according to the authors of this poem, not according to Mr. Kenny. Again, all I want from you, ladies and gentlemen, is to just be good people. Now, we have finished the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. This is one of the most famous poems ever written, and that's one reason, whether or not you believe it's a vampire story, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to read it with you, just to have it in your repertoire of knowledge. Now, is it a vampire story? That is completely for you to guess, right? 3 reasons why you believe it's a vampire story, if you believe it's a vampire story, and you must give 3 quotes. If you believe it's not a vampire story, give me 3 reasons and 3 quotes, of course. And of course, the last one, which is the one where I would probably fall, I don't believe it's a vampire story, but I can see how somebody might mistake it for one because there's so many seemingly vampiric elements throughout this poem. Really well done, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later.